Mercedes has found the perfect setup for their W14 car, and they are expected to perform much better than last year at the upcoming race in Austria. They have identified Silverstone and Budapest as important races for them. According to the team's recent statements, they will have two highly competitive W14 cars that could surprise everyone during the sprint and main events, especially because of the track's characteristics. Can Mercedes embarrass Red Bull in front of their home fans, despite trailing behind in Barcelona and Montreal? To answer this question, we need to discuss the significant upgrades Mercedes introduced in Monaco and further utilized in Barcelona. But before we do that, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below if you like all things F1. Alright, now let's get back to the video. Hamilton and Mercedes have enjoyed a return to form in recent races after bringing their first major upgrade package of the season to Monaco. Since then, Hamilton has finished second in Spain, before also taking third last time out in Montreal. When asked whether the W14 feels different to drive pre- and post-upgrades, Hamilton responded, "In truth, it doesn't feel a huge difference to the beginning of the year. There are some elements of the car which do feel different obviously with the upgrade, but it's simply just having a little bit more downforce on the car." Although the Monaco race didn't provide Mercedes with useful data for their new upgrade, the recent race in Barcelona demonstrated their ability to compete with the leading teams. The W14 car now performs better in the combination of medium and high-speed corners compared to earlier in the season. You may be curious about how Austria can benefit Mercedes. The easy answer is, it's the presence of medium and high-speed corners. But that's only one aspect of the equation. Another factor that played a role in Mercedes' success in Brazil was the altitude of the track. Both Austria and Sao Paulo races have similar altitudes, which means the air is thinner. Somehow, this thin air seems to help the Mercedes car perform better and gain more speed. Mercedes can rely on two factors for improved performance. The first factor, which they have been focusing on during their time in Barcelona, is excelling in medium and high-speed corners. It's worth noting that in Barcelona, Russell and Hamilton faced starting grid setbacks due to incorrect setup. However, they managed to surpass all competitors except Max Verstappen and achieved a double podium finish. Despite struggling with their challenging W13 car, Mercedes showcased their resilience. Hamilton secured a third-place finish, while Russell impressively climbed to fourth, even building a 5-second lead over Ocon, before maintaining his position due to a penalty. Looking ahead to Austria, Mercedes has high hopes. A straightforward setup might be sufficient for Hamilton and Russell to excel in the new sprint format and solidify their position as the second-best team behind Red Bull. There's even a chance they could surprise the Austrian team on their home turf. It's important to remember that Verstappen faced difficulties with tire degradation in Austria last year. Even though everything seemed to be going well for Red Bull, their performance in their race revealed that they are far behind Ferrari in terms of tire degradation. This could be a challenge for the RB19 once again. In contrast, Hamilton and Russell demonstrated better tire management. With improved downforce, utilization of upgrade tools, and a stronger setup for one-lap performance, Mercedes is aiming for an excellent race in Austria. An important addition to the story is the shift in mindset within the Mercedes team. It appears that James Allison's presence has been the missing piece they needed to find their way. Allison himself has expressed his enjoyment of the pursuit of Red Bull, finding joy in the process and aiming to prove that Adrian Newey is not the sole brilliant mind in the sport. Regarding the possibility of closing the gap to Red Bull in the upcoming races, Allison expressed the following: "We're all going to feel a bit miffed about not being competitive, even though that sort of unhappiness we see every time they win is offset hugely by the fact that it is thrilling in its own way to be fighting back, to be improving our car week on week. They don't have a God-given right to be in the lead. They're there by merit, having worked really hard. If we can do a good or better job, we'll be there, and that is actually a lot of fun. It is a very, very exhilarating thought once you frame it correctly in your head, and something that we're all into trying to make a reality." The situation was completely different in the minds of Mercedes after the first race in Bahrain. When George Russell claimed that the RB19 would win every race this season, it was a significant moral boost for both Hamilton and Russell. They are currently focused on extending their contracts with Mercedes and have apparently reached an agreement. This news has relieved some of the pressure they were feeling for the upcoming races. While Austria is expected to be a race where Mercedes can make a big impact, it's important to remember that they have significant upgrade plans for Silverstone and Hungary as well. The upgrade package for Silverstone will primarily focus on improving the car's floor, an area where Red Bull has excelled and outperformed their competitors. The complexity of Mercedes' floor has proven to be a challenge for their rivals to replicate. This upcoming upgrade is expected to be a significant improvement for the team, particularly in the area of the floor. Interestingly, while the side pod design initially brought them back into competition, it has also been a source of performance loss. However, Mercedes is determined to address this issue and further enhance their overall performance. After observing the impact of the RB19's floor on their performance over the past 18 months, James Allison and his team of engineers recognized the need for significant changes to further enhance their car's performance. However, simply installing the RB19's floor was not a feasible option due to chassis limitations. Instead, they decided to borrow certain components from it and integrate them seamlessly into their own car's design, creating a synergistic effect. Wolff expressed great confidence regarding the latest upgrade package, emphasizing that the perceived advantage of Red Bull is not as significant as people believe. He anticipates that once the upgrades are implemented in Silverstone and Budapest, the W14 will undergo a significant transformation, enabling it to compete for victories. We are bringing a larger set of upgrades to Silverstone, and then we should have another one before the shutdown, Wolff said. The learnings of the car have accelerated a lot since we changed some of the conceptual architecture. There should be decent steps coming in the next 4 races, and we're understanding better the simulations, which correlates with what we're seeing on the track. That has been our problem over the last 1.5 years, but we're seeing good performance gains coming from the wind tunnel. We have a better understanding of what the car needs in order to go fast, what the setup needs to look like. The steps are getting bigger now, and we're making good inroads, Wolff explained. Mercedes finds hope in the prospect of Red Bull facing difficulties in Austria, a race where they struggled to maximize their performance last year. However, besides Mercedes, there is a possibility of increased competition from Aston Martin and Ferrari. Aston Martin in particular has been regarded as the dark horse with potential to win at the Red Bull Ring, especially if they secure a front row start. Both Lewis Hamilton and Helmut Marko have shared this scenario, with the Red Bull advisor believing that Ferrari, led by Leclerc, could pose significant challenges to Red Bull if they finish in the top 4 under dry conditions. This further motivates the Mercedes team to showcase their capabilities and prove their worth. With the lessons learned from Montreal and Barcelona, along with adjustments to their car setup, Austria presents a genuine challenge and an opportunity for Mercedes to narrow the gap to Red Bull once again. The team is particularly counting on Perez's recent performance slump, as he has underperformed in the past 3 races. Another crucial factor that Mercedes relies on is the consistency of its drivers. If not for Russell's mistake in the previous race in Montreal and the engine failure in Australia, the standings in the Constructors' Championship would have been much different. James Allison expressed that this gives Mercedes a significant boost and serves as a tailwind for the team. I think that both of our drivers are very similar to the rest of the team, in that if you sense that there's a change of momentum, that gives you a huge boost that you can keep this running, and the good times, the champagne will flow again. And for the drivers who get the sort of visceral excitement of actually feeling their car overtaking other people, that lifts their spirits. But I imagine when they're actually standing on the podium and reflecting on the fact that they're not on the top step, that may temper their enthusiasm somewhat, Allison said. Mercedes is filled with optimism for the upcoming races, especially the Grand Prix in Austria. This particular race suits their car perfectly, allowing them to extract more performance and speed from the W14. On the other hand, Red Bull faced significant difficulties in performing at their expected level last year. With upcoming upgrades planned for Silverstone and Budapest, Mercedes sees these races as an opportunity to make a strong comeback. Winning on Red Bull's home turf would be a great joy for the Silver Arrow fans. Toto Wolff even considers Silverstone as their first win of the season, and a double victory for Mercedes, although it may seem unlikely, is definitely within reach given the recent impressive pace of the W14. Will they outperform Red Bull on their home turf? Can their upgraded W14 car bring them victory in Austria? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.